Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Pitch Talk.
We are fans of football dropping vlogs, videos and podcasts on the beautiful game.
Check out our videos on YouTube and Instagram's IGTV,
including special feature segments,
5 minutes with the G,
the Straight Shootin View,
coaching with JBK. We produce, record and edit video content
and audio on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts,
Verbal, Podomatic,
Anchor,
Spotify
and other podcast platforms.
Join the Pitch Talk revolution on Twitter, Instagram,
Facebook
and www.pitch-talk.com.
The pitch is where we eat.
The pitch is where we sleep.
And the pitch is where we talk.
I can see you now. I can see you now and then. I can see you now.
Welcome to
the Straight Shootin View.
What is up, people? My name is Straight Shootin LJA and welcome to another episode of the Straight Shootin View. Now, in this episode, I want to talk about FIFA, and I'm actually going to praise them for once, because FIFA are set to introduce new loan regulations from next season, from the 2022-2023 season. Just going to read this out quickly to you. FIFA are set to introduce new loan regulations from next season that will place a cap on the number of players that a club can loan out during the season. The decision was passed by the FIFA Football Stakeholders Committee last year, 2021, and will be passed to the FIFA Council for its approval with the view to being implemented on July 1st, 2022. The new rules will see a club allowed to loan out a maximum of 8 players during the 2022-2023 season, with this number reducing to one each season, so that by the 2024-2025 season, clubs will only be allowed to loan out 6 players at any given time during the season. Little more to this. FIFA hopes the new rules will help develop young players, promote competitive balance, and prevent clubs from hoarding players despite knowing they will be loaned out season after season. For example, Chelsea, at this time, this was reported, currently had 20 players out on loan, meaning that they will have to more than half that number when the new regulations come into force for next season, as well as other problems Chelsea have, but that's for another vlog or podcast. Further regulation changes include clubs only being allowed to loan in 3 players from a single club, loans being a maximum of 1 year, and ensuring a written agreement defines the duration and financial conditions, avoiding what Watford had back in 2012-13, I think it was, when they had 10 players on loan at from Udinese. As said, I'm going to praise FIFA in this episode, because you know what? It is one of them ones where having a maximum of 8 players loaned out, reducing to 6 after a couple of seasons, I'm actually happy with that, because there are so many clubs, Chelsea being the main culprits in the Premier League, with at one point, I think about a year and a half ago, they had about 30 players out on loan at once. And it was one of them ones where it's like, what, you want to complain about injuries? Yeah, you got 30 players out on loan. You've got basically a squad and a half almost out on loan. Tell your story walking. But it's one of them where hoarding of players has annoyed me for a long time. And those who used to watch and take part and listen to the Pitch Talk live podcasts and shows as well, it's one of them where I used to always bring up the example of Scott Sinclair and Jack Rodwell going to Manchester City. For me, that was just Manchester City trying to hoard players for the 6+5 rule, because Rodwell and Sinclair were barely used. So it was really pointless having them on Man City's books at that time, because you knew they weren't going to get played. You knew they were just bought for the 6+5 rule. But with these regulations being tightened up, I'm glad, because as I said, remember what Watford did with Udinese when they got promoted years ago. I think it was 12-13 with Gianfranco Zola at the helm for them. It was one of them ones, they took the mickey. They had basically a whole team on loan from Udinese, and it was like, this is a loophole that Watford exploited at the time with the Pozzos. And it was one of them where it's like, no, sporting integrity, just not there. And it's just like, nah, that's unfair to a lot of other sides to do that. And it tipped the scales in their favour. But then when those players all went back, you saw a notable difference. So essentially, You could say they were cheating, but at the same time, there was the loophole there to be exploited, and Watford did it very well by bringing in that many players. But as I said, I'm glad that this loophole is closing, because hopefully it will give younger players a bit more pause for thought when they choose clubs. Where it's like, all right, if I'm going to that club, am I actually going to play? Like Nathan Ake. When he was at Chelsea, he was one of them ones where he was on loan so often, you didn't know who his parent club actually was. It's like he did very well at Bournemouth. But then he was like, when it was time for him to go back to Chelsea, he was like, nah, I'd rather not. Because I know I'm not going to get the opportunities. And this was before the transfer ban that Chelsea had that bought Frank Lampard a bit of extra time. But I see it as players like Ake, among numerous others. I mean, you look at, and I hate to kind of pile on Chelsea here, but they've been the biggest culprits of it over the last few years, where they've had 25, 30 players out on loan at once. I think it was as high as 32 at one point. And you look at certain players who they've loaned out and never given a shot to in that first team. You look at Patrick Bamford. Tammy Abraham didn't get a proper run until the transfer ban. You look at certain guys, and there are so many other names over the years who've been wasted. Josh McEachran, yet another one, who I've brought up on a number of occasions. And you look at the amount of players who have been wasted because their parent clubs are like, well, we'd rather send you out on loan. We don't think you're good enough already for the first team, and you're never going to be, but we don't want another club getting you. Again, Scott Sinclair, Jack Rodwell. It was one of them ones where they looked like promising talents, and Man City bought them and were like, yeah, we're not going to play you, we're just going to keep you here because we don't want anybody else to get him. And it's like, no, there's no point in doing that. Because I said, that must be soul destroying to a young player who thinks that they're good enough and wants to prove they're good enough and wants the opportunity to prove they're good enough, but then just isn't going to get the chance. I mean, I always felt for Harry Wilson, Andre Wisdom, even Connor Cody as well. I felt for those kind of players because they were at Liverpool during transitional times, but could have done with more opportunities. But they had to go out on loan, and it is what it is. But if you're a club where you're putting a handful of players out on loan per season with the eventual idea of bringing them back into the fold, then cool, got no problem with that. But then you don't need to be putting 30 players out on loan at once. You get what I'm saying? You don't need to put 30 players, because then you're clearly hoarding. If you've got any more than like 10 players out on loan at once, you're clearly hoarding, because you're not going to use all 10 of those players in your first team. I don't care who you are, whether you're Arsenal circa 2012, whether you're Liverpool now. It's like you're not going to use all of those players. So either turn them into first team superstars or turn them loose. That's the jack for me. And I said, if you've got 8, 9, 10 players in on loan from one team who are clearly better than you in their league, you're mocking. Again, Watford Udinese, that was just mockage to the whole championship. That literally mocked the whole system. Emergency loan system, the loan system, it mocked everything. So I personally wouldn't ever want to see that kind of thing happening again. And I said, if you've got more than a handful of players out at once, you're hoarding. So really and truly, you need to get your act together and be like, you know what, okay, cool. We're never going to use you. We can't see a future for you. Good luck in your future endeavours. You can find another club. Do that. So at least it gives the player a chance to go and try and find somewhere else. But as I said, I'm glad that FIFA are actually closing these rules and these loopholes. I'm hoping that UEFA jump on board and the Premier League jump on board with these as well. I really am hoping. But the footballing powers that be are not necessarily known for working all on the same page harmoniously. I mean, you know what? I want to know your views. FIFA, are their regulations actually going to make a difference in terms of closing loopholes? So the amount of loan players being 8, then going down to 7 and 6. Is 6 a good amount to have out on loan? Is it fair that certain clubs over the years have had 10, 15, 20 players plus out on loan? Is that hoarding? To me it is. But is it to you as well? And also the amount of players you can have in on loan at any one time being reduced majorly. Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think it will work? I have been Straight Shootin LJA. Remember, www.pitch-talk.com is the official website for everything Pitch Talk. YouTube.com/Pitch Talk is the official video site for Pitch Talk. That's where you can find our special feature segments. You can also find video versions of our podcast, aka our vlogs, such as the Straight Shootin View, Coaching with JBK, 5 Minutes with G, and much more, including our Cup Final special videos, which we've resurrected recently as well. More coming soon. Also, you can find on our website, you can find the RSS feed for our podcast, and you can listen live on our website as well. Catch us on Anchor, Verbal, Player FM, Ghana, GAANA, Verbal, as said, VURBL.com. Find us at Pitch Talk on there as well, and at Get Verbal on Twitter. We're Verbal Ambassadors and proud to be so. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you can find us on as well. And if you're on Spotify, video versions of our vlogs, of our podcast will be on Spotify as well. And as I said, we're on Anchor as well as many other places, including TuneIn Radio too. You know what? We're in a number of different places. At Pitch Talk on Twitter. Tweet with us, follow us, see what we're up to. Facebook.com/Pitch Talk. Become fan, become friend, become a member of the group. Join the footballing revolution we're working so hard to create. At Pitch Talk on Instagram as well. And also, we're around. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We are in as many places as we can be. But I have been Straight Shootin LJA, and from this place, I will see you next time. Take it easy, peeps.
Join the Pitch Talk revolution.
Check out the official Pitch Talk website,
www.pitch-talk.com. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Pitch Talk.
We are fans of football dropping vlogs, videos and podcasts on the beautiful game.
Check out our videos on YouTube and Instagram's IGTV,
including special feature segments,
5 Minutes with the G,
the Straight Shootin View,
Coaching with JBK. We produce, record and edit video content
and audio on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts,
Verbal, Podomatic,
Anchor,
Spotify
and other podcast platforms.
Join the Pitch Talk revolution on Twitter, Instagram,
Facebook,
and www.pitch-talk.com.
The pitch is where we eat.
The pitch is where we sleep.
And the pitch is where we talk.
I can see you now.